When you picture Machu Picchu, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Probably this mysterious lost city, right? Kind of floating in the clouds. Well, today we're going to pull back that mist and look at it in a totally different way, as an absolute masterpiece of civil engineering. We're about to dive into the hidden genius that made this incredible city even possible. I mean, just look at this place. It's perched on this razor-thin ridge, almost 8,000 feet up in the Peruvian Andes. You've got these sheer cliffs that just drop away on both sides, straight down to the river below. It's a spot that seems to completely defy logic. Building a city here, it's just staggering. So that's the big puzzle, isn't it? How on earth did the Inca not only build a city up here, but how did they make it livable? How did they get water? How did they grow food? And how did they put up buildings that could survive for centuries in a place this extreme? Seriously, how did this thing actually work? Okay, so to really get into the nuts and bolts, we first have to understand the why. What was this place? And I think the answer is going to surprise you. This timeline gives us our first major clue. See, Machu Picchu was built around 1450 by the legendary Inca Emperor Pachacuti. And here's the thing, it wasn't a normal city for regular people. It was a royal estate, basically an exclusive high-end retreat for the Inca elite. It was only used for less than 100 years before it was abandoned, and then it was basically hidden from the world until Hiram Bingham showed up in 1911. Knowing its real purpose, that's the key to understanding all the engineering decisions they made. So if you're building a luxury getaway on top of a mountain, what's problem number one? It's always water. How do you get a fresh, reliable water supply to a place that has absolutely none? Well, this is where the Inca genius really starts to shine. The Inca engineers didn't just stumble upon some water. No way. They meticulously surveyed the area and found a natural spring that was being fed by a huge geological fault line running through the mountain. They knew this wasn't just some seasonal trickle. This was a steady, year-round source. This one spring was about to become the absolute lifeline for the entire city. And this just shows you how methodical they were. It wasn't just about finding the water, it was about totally mastering it. So, step one, find the source. Done. Step two, design this incredibly sophisticated gravity-fed canal with a perfectly calculated slope. And step three, bring that water right into the heart of the city through a series of 16 public fountains. It was a complete end-to-end system. Now, let this number sink in for a second. 749 meters. That's almost half a mile. They built this canal across a super steep, unstable mountainside. They had to build these massive stone retaining walls just to support it. The level of precision and pure hard work is just mind-blowing. And right here, you can see that whole journey. The water comes into the city, flowing through this stone-lined canal you see on the left. And then it makes its way down through the main part of town in this beautiful, cascading staircase of 16 different fountains, making sure everyone had easy access to fresh water. But here's the really cool part. This wasn't just plumbing. The sources say these fountains were specifically designed for the sight and sound of rushing water. Just think about that for a second. In this ridiculously remote, high-altitude place, having fresh water flowing on demand wasn't just practical, it was a power move. It was a daily reminder to everyone that the Inca Emperor could tame nature itself. All right, so they've got water. Check. Next big problem. How do you feed everybody? And that brings us to maybe the most famous feature of Machu Picchu, those incredible agricultural terraces. I mean, these are just spectacular. Over 600 of them, carved right into the side of the mountain. It seems like a pretty obvious solution for farming on a steep hill, right? For years, everyone just assumed these terraces were built to make Machu Picchu completely self-sufficient. But when modern engineers actually sat down and ran the numbers, they found something absolutely stunning. Just look at this. You've got about 4.5 hectares of farmland. The population was somewhere between 300 and 1,000 people. So how many people could all those terraces actually feed? About 50 adults. 50. That means they had a food deficit of over 90%. So what does all that mean? Well, it leads to a huge plot twist. Machu Picchu was not self-sufficient. Not even close. Those terraces, the things that look like the key to its survival, couldn't possibly have fed everyone living there. And that is what proves its real purpose. The fact that most of its food had to be hauled in from somewhere else just confirms what the historical records tell us. It was a royal estate for Inca emperors and nobles. This was a seasonal palace in the clouds, totally supplied by the huge network of the Inca Empire. It was never meant to be an independent city. So we've got a royal retreat with water and imported food. But how in the world has it survived for more than 500 years in a place that gets slammed with earthquakes and torrential rain? Well, the answer is literally built into its walls. The secret starts with their signature building technique, something called Ashlar masonry. The Incas would cut these massive granite blocks with this insane precision so they would fit together perfectly, like a puzzle. No mortar needed to hold them together. And to give you an idea of how precise this was, researchers today have noted that, quote, even a credit card can't be inserted into these mortar-free cracks. I mean, think about that. You can't even wedge a thin piece of plastic between these giant stones. It's just unbelievable. And here's where the genius of that design really shows. During an earthquake, instead of being rigid and cracking apart, the stones actually dance. Because there's no mortar, the individual blocks can move around, absorb the shock waves, and then just settle right back into place. It's basically an ancient, brilliant form of earthquake proofing, and it's why those walls are still standing. But you know, as incredible as those walls are, a lot of archaeologists will tell you the real miracle of Machu Picchu is the engineering you can't even see. This place gets a ton of rain every year. Without an amazing drainage system, the entire city would have just washed right off the mountain centuries ago. And the scale of this system is just immense. Get this, researchers have found over 127 separate drainage outlets so far, and they're pretty sure there are more. This was not an afterthought. It was a master-planned citywide drainage network built into the foundations to protect it from landslides. Absolutely brilliant. So, the Inca engineered Machu Picchu to withstand the forces of nature. But the big question now is, can it withstand us? And that brings us to the challenges it's facing right now. This chart pretty much says it all. Back in the early 80s, you had maybe 100,000 people visiting each year. Okay, by 2013, that number had exploded to 1.2 million. And today, it's hovering around 1.5 million people every single year. That is a level of traffic the Inca engineers could have never, ever imagined. And, of course, that massive wave of tourism creates a ton of problems. All those feet are literally eroding the ancient stone paths. There's a constant risk of damage to the ruins themselves, and the pressure on the whole local ecosystem is just huge. It takes constant, expensive work just to monitor the site and try to prevent lasting damage. In the end, Machu Picchu is just this incredible testament to solving impossible problems. The Incas figured out how to master water, geology, and building in the clouds. Now we're faced with a totally new engineering challenge. How do we balance our deep human need to see and connect with our history, with our just as deep responsibility to protect it for everyone who comes after us? That's the puzzle we have to solve now.
Enjoyed this video? Please like, share it with a friend, and press the bell icon to never miss an update.